Hi, everyone. Welcome to another Sunday Smiles. My name is Ibtihal Badawi, and I'm an expressionistic artist and a culture explorer. I use my art to build bridges between different people and different culture. And in this pandemic, I created Sunday Smile to still continue building these bridges. And today we have a special guest, Stephanie. Hi, Stephanie.
Hi.
Hi, can you tell us more about yourself and what are you doing in this pandemic? And
Yeah. So I'm homeschooling my daughter right now. She would have entered kindergarten, and so I'm homeschooling her, and I have my toddler who's 3, and then I work at night as a grant writer for a nonprofit. So that's all. And then I do some freelance grant writing. Mainly we explore nature. My daughter loves art. So I've been learning different art techniques to teach her. And, through that, I realized, like what you were saying, we're all artists, and we all can express ourselves with paint or pencils or crayons, etc. And I realized that I had always thought I wasn't an artist, but now I'm like, all of us are artists. We all have something inside of us to express. So I'm excited to be here today.
thank you. I'm so excited too. I love the art you're doing, and you did before. I saw some cards. You're sending cards to friends. Tell us more about that.
Yes. So in the pandemic, my daughter and I have just been, well, in the beginning, we actually found a nursing home and we made cards for them, for the residents of the nursing home, because, they're stuck inside. And I tried to explain it in easier terms for my daughter, they can't go out, etc. And so we're going to do something to cheer them up. So we made a series of cards to drop off at a nursing home. We let them quarantine in our house in a bag for like 2 weeks and then drop them off, etc. But we've also been sending cards to friends, just like bought some watercolor, and we do like little watercolor postcards, and we send them to friends that we're not seeing. We send them to family members we're not seeing. So it's been a fun way for both of us to express ourselves, and I'll sit down and paint with her and she'll paint beside us. And sometimes I think she's a little better than I. But yeah, we do a lot with the Waldorf curriculum, which also embraces a form of artistic expression. Like we learn the alphabet through art, we learn numbers through art and stories. So yeah, we try to bring in as much color and creativity into the day as possible.
That's so nice. It's amazing how kids are really creative.
Mashallah, they really are.
They are like Picasso before, like try to paint as kids like all his life to achieve that freedom, freedom of expressing. But sometimes us as an adult, we have that inside voice that judge us and tell us you're not, that's not the way, it's not good. But kids, they don't have that. They just have a freedom of expressing themselves.
Yeah, I agree. And I like to just keep a lot of art supplies on like a little old table we have. So I have the watercolor supplies there. I have our colored pencils, our crayons, and so they can go and get out art supplies throughout the day whenever they kind of feel like it. Because if they're bored, they'll paint. If they sometimes say, I want to send cards. And so I think they really are in tune with that. And I hope as they grow older, they in that realm of artistic expression and finding it as an outlet, inshallah.
Yes, I hope that it really help, when you are stressed, just get a paper and just throw some colors, any colors, random colors. Even it really help if you also paint with your fingers, I don't know, it's the way the color move on the paper and your finger moving on the paper. It really help release that stress, and it's gone. It's like writing. Yeah. Also, people write to express their feelings and they just throw it away. It just kind of relief.
Yeah, I agree with that. I realized I learned to knit and crochet as well in quarantine. I went through all the artistic expressions, but I started realizing that through history we always used our hands. We built things, we crocheted, we knit, we drew, we wrote. And now with like technology, we just are using our thumbs or the keyboard. You know, we're not using our hands and feeling the textures and the fabrics, et cetera. And I think in a way, maybe we long for that. And maybe that's why phones become so addictive to people and kids, because we're meant to use our hands. And if we don't use them in other ways, this is just my own thought, we pick up our phone or our tablet. So I believe it's kind of a longing to use our hands and be useful with them. And if we don't have that artistic outlet, then we go to the easiest outlet.
I totally agree. I never thought about that. You're absolutely right. Yes.
It's something I was thinking as I was learning to knit. I was like, wow, this is really like therapeutic, you know, feeling the fabric moving. And my mother-in-law was an avid knitter. And I mean, she just knits all the time as she's talking, etc. And I was thinking, yeah, as humans, we've always used our hands. It's only in modern day that we've moved away from that. We don't make our own textiles. We don't make our own, you know, furniture, etc. But throughout history, until probably 200 years ago, we did all of that.
Yes, yes, you're right. That's why there's that thing like a ball, a stress ball.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. Like, and they have my daughter showed me before different toys that you just hold it in your hand, not just the stress ball, but like different, you know, some rubber thing, you just pull it.
Spinners, etc. Yeah, and my daughter, we've learned finger knitting together. I watched the YouTube video and teach her. So she's 5, and she'll just go get the finger knitting out and like finger knit. And right now, she made our brother a belt for one of his toy swords, and you know they find useful things. She's made crowns for friends to drop off at their birthdays. But I'll just find her going to get the yarn. I keep a ball of it in one of our drawers, and she'll just go and pick out the yarn and kind of finger knit throughout the day, or she finds it to be something calming for her in a way to kind of bust boredom, because I try to limit electronics, which is hard in a pandemic.
It is very hard.
Yeah.
So how do you use nature before you talk about nature?
I'd never realized growing up that I had a really fortunate childhood. I was constantly exposed to nature. Growing up in West Virginia, you know, nature was all around us, and it's something that we didn't think about. You know, we climbed trees, we went out looking for wild animals. Like, we really had a rugged childhood where we were constantly in nature, and we knew the cycles of nature. We knew when the flowers will bloom here, or when tadpoles are blooming, or tadpoles are laid, where to find them, etc. And it wasn't until I moved to suburbia. I live in a suburb of Houston. I was just like, oh my gosh, my kids don't have any nature. Like, I mean, we have our backyard, which I'm grateful for, but you have to drive to a nature preserve or a park. But I was just like, I want my kids to have that connection that I had to nature, because I've read a lot about just even the environmental movement, et cetera. And we expect people to preserve an earth that they don't truly know, or to preserve their neighborhood, but they don't know the animals in their neighborhood or the plants in their neighborhood. So we're lucky we have a neighborhood park, and we just go every day to that park. And research has shown that the connection kids have with nature is usually from their own neighborhood. It's not these grandiose experiences at national parks and state parks or hiking at some mountain. It's really the nature in their backyard. So I just put a conscious effort for all of our sanity to go and explore nature every day. And I find that it heals me. And they've said that some research has been done that it can help kids with ADD or ADHD, et cetera. And, you know, we take our books and we do like nature journaling sometimes, not all the time, but we take walks, we ride our bikes, we have picnics there, we just sit there, and it's become part of our weekly cycle. And it's really kept us sane through the pandemic, because it gives us something to look forward to.
That's really nice. Nature is amazing. As I grew up in Saudi, we didn't have that nature. So when I moved here, it's really calming. I love walk barefoot on the grass,
Yeah.
and the smell of the grass, that smell, it's really refreshing. You know,
That connecting, like the walking on the ground, they say it releases like any negative energy waves in your body, etc., from like the electromagnetic fields we absorb, especially in huge metropolitan areas. And I want my kids and myself to start appreciating the sound of birds. Like I always try to remind, oh, listen to the birds singing their songs. My children are still young, so I can kind of do that. I don't know how they'll be
it
when
is hard when they get older.
yeah.
I'm losing control.
Yeah, I mean, but at this point, and I love stories that surround like little woodland creatures and mice and stuff. So then when we're in nature, it's like we give them names. Oh, what do you think this squirrel's doing? What's his name, etc. And I think it helps them bond to those animals a little bit and appreciate them and want to, save them. For example, we were at a park probably 2 months ago, and my daughter's friend threw water all over the ant pile, and my daughter was freaking out. Why would you do that? They work so hard to build their home. Just taking them in nature and showing them like you don't have to destroy it. Just look at it, observe it. Ants worked really hard to build this, or spider webs. Look at how beautiful that is. To now, when we see spider webs in the house, we're just kind of like, they're fine. We're gonna let them
Live,
live
yes.
with the spider. I never imagined I would be at that point. I don't know if it's children or quarantine, but I want them to have the appreciation for even the tiniest of creatures.
Yes, that's amazing. I think of it like all these are seeds in them. Even if they grow, they will lose it, but they still will come back to it. I think of that when we go in the car and I see them like their siblings, they're fighting. So I try to change the subject and tell them, like, I try to calm them down, and then I tell them, look at the clouds. What do you can see in the clouds? And I try to, see different shapes. And I tell them I see an elephant and a whale. And what do you see? And then my daughter starts to look at the cloud, and she starts seeing things. And then her brother, he's older, so he see us talking, and then he start to, talk with us. But I love watching the clouds, and they're different shapes. Every day they have different shapes.
We've also been doing, since it was getting dark earlier through the winter, one easy thing to do with kids, even if you don't have access to parks nearby, is just to go out and look at the moon. So I'll bring you my daughter. We make a moon journal, and she journals the moon every night. I think she's a few days behind, so just wait.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and for these few nights, it's not a full moon, it's just cloudy actually. But she makes it, and she made it for February with her little hearts for Valentine's Day. But she, just journals the moon. And so every night we take like a little effort to go out and see like, hey, what's the moon doing tonight? And I just think that connection to like our moon cycles and the earth cycles, spring, fall, summer, winter. Well, we're in Houston, so seasons we get every season in a week. But having that connection to the cycles of the earth, I think is hopefully going to benefit them immensely. I had like a difficult childhood, and I think a lot of what made me come out on the other end was just connecting to nature and being in nature. And I still find it to be therapeutic. Like when I'm just about, my husband works 90-hour weeks. It's usually me. We're in quarantine. It's like when I'm ready to lose my mind, I'm like, okay, we're going to the park. Let's go. Everybody, let's go. And it's very therapeutic for all of us. And it's just like a refresh in the middle of the day. And one of the saddening things that I see is like in Texas, they're taking away the time kids get to spend outdoors. And they're just spending all the time in the classroom. And now with COVID, it's even worse. They're making the best of what they have, but they're limiting outdoor play, etc. So I think it's a time for us as parents to all just try our best to get our kids outside and being in nature, and really, depending on like your family's approach to COVID, it's really one of the only activities we have right now.
So true.
Yeah, we're pretty stern about social distancing, and different people are on different spectrums with that, but that's the activities that we have available. And I'm thinking going forward, why wouldn't we keep that habit? On the weekends we go, sometimes we take like a little tent and go to the park together and spend the day there. But yeah.
It's really helped. I think in this pandemic we all gain new ways of new perspective for life, for things that we
Yeah.
can do. We're adapting, to the change that we have, and there's all really great things, like people are connecting more to nature because that's what they have.
Yeah.
But it's a really good things,
Yeah.
good habit to have.
Hopefully we can implement that moving forward. And we're very, again, it's not everybody has a lot of nature near them, so I feel very fortunate, and I hope in moving forward we accept like more green cities, and we accept policies that will allow access to nature, for every family, every child.
That's really great. So guys, do you have any questions for Stefni?
Yeah, I do actually. It was very interesting because you talked about nature even having some effects on ADHD and things like that. Now, do you find with your kids, and I don't have any kids, so this is I'm curious. I worked as a camp counselor for many years, but it was a long time ago. But I grew up very much like you out in the woods. In my case, Western Pennsylvania as opposed to West Virginia, so very close by. But one of the things I noticed, and it's a funny thing because nature is very calming, but at the same time, nature is actually, I don't know if this was the right word, it's very distracting. It gives you a lot more things to pay attention to, because one of the things with our focus on electronics today is your focus is here. This is all you get. Yeah. And when you step outside into nature, it is dispersed and spread around, and every time you turn your head, you see something else. With the kids, do you ever notice, do you ever give some of that when they get wound up or overactive, or do you ever give that to boredom? Because there's really, their brains are so, even our brains when we're older, but brains are so active in general that if you don't feed them enough, they start to like go off the rails. I can't think of the right words because it's just a feeling in your head, like your head is all full of, let's say ants. It's very good, like you talk about the anthill. But then when you go outside, you can disperse that energy because there's so much to look at. Do you see that with your kids? Including the one behind you who's very cute.
Yeah. With them, I actually find that usually their minds become way more active in nature, for sure. There's so much that they can think. They'll make homes out of sticks, etc. So, but usually what I find with my kids is they'll narrow down to like one thing and work on that in nature. So even with like, we have one friend we've made a pod with, it's like they'll work their effort towards one type thing, like making a hay bed, or they will get the pine needles and collect something to make something. My daughter is creative and like she likes to make things. But that's what I find. I found on Sundays I usually watch another friend whose daughter's doing virtual schooling and she's just inside all day. And I find when we take her with us on the weekends, so her response is different than my kids. She's more like, look at this, look at this, look at this, look at this. And I wonder if she were exposed to nature every day, if she would kind of not be as curious about every little bit. Like it's overstimulating to her in some ways. And I don't know if that's because she's not in nature every day or if it's just overstimulating. So, but there's a book called Last Child in the Woods, and he's done a lot of research. His academic career has been, Dr. Lowe, his academic career has been about children in nature and children with ADHD, ADD, and different arenas of society. So yeah, I would check out that book for more like detailed studies, etc., because he's done phenomenal work in that field. I hope that answered some questions.
It did. And I had a different unrelated question to something you were talking about earlier too, if I may. You were talking about doing art with your kids. Now, who does the teaching? Them or you?
You know, I guide sometimes. So there's some times when it's just like free time. And for example, with like the Waldorf approach to the alphabet, I don't know if this is a book for the alphabet. No, it's not. She will kind of follow my lead on it. And so we'll read a story accompanying a letter, and then I'll draw out that photo for the day, or that piece of artwork for the day for the letter A, for example. But so it's mixed, you know, she will have her free time where it's just like, you can paint or draw how you perceive it. Or some weeks, even with the alphabet, I'll say, you know, we read this story, this is the letter B. How would you express that? How would you draw the B with the accompanied, you know, photo? Okay. It's a mix. It's a hybrid.
Yeah, I was kind of curious because you mentioned, you know, the kids being sometimes better at it, and they're, you know, kids have these incredibly curious minds. I just wonder, because something I noticed when I used to work with the kids is the more time you got to spend with them, it was kind of like an opportunity to make your brain go back that way, because you do remember that. You don't use it all the time as a grown-up, but you do actually have those memories of, you know, little repressed things in the back of your head that if you spend a lot of time with little kids, sometimes they can help bring you back too. I was wondering if you had the opportunity to do that in the craziness that is pandemic, when everything feels like you can control it.
My daughter, she likes to show us how to do artwork, etc. But it's interesting just to relearn even things that I didn't think I could do. I didn't think I could teach my child like some watercolor or how to draw bee with bears. I didn't think I even had the capacity to do that. So in a lot of ways, it's like re-teaching myself that no, everybody has the capacity to keep evolving. I think I've thought about it a lot as well, because we're in the pandemic and I'm home 24 hours a day. So I have time to think a lot. That in a capitalist society, artwork is rewarded if it's profitable. And we kind of gravitate toward rewarding people for something that's profitable. So in a way, if you don't show like that capacity to make your artwork sell or your creative side sell, it's kind of like, that's just a hobby, whatever. It's not given weight. And I think I realized I gave myself no weight in a creative realm because I never excelled creatively. But now I'm like, you know, I didn't excel creatively under those standards. That doesn't mean I can't excel creatively under my own standards. And it doesn't have to sell. It doesn't have to be profitable. But if I enjoy it, that's enough. And if it helps me, that's enough. That's more than enough. So I hope everybody can take that away from today. Yeah. You don't have to be selling artwork or selling anything. If it's good for you and it heals you, do it. Express yourself.
Yes, I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
So Melissa, you said before, like boredom, like I read before, a lot of people are afraid to be bored, but they say it's good to be bored, because when you are bored, you start to explore new things. Even kids, like when I try to always follow their schedule, but sometimes I just let them be bored. When they be bored without the electronics, they start to think of new things to entertain themselves. Even as grown up, also, it's good to be bored. It's not a bad thing to be bored. It's a good thing to because our mind is always thinking. I don't know how many thoughts in a minute, thousands of thoughts come to us, and sometimes it's not even ours. But if we try to exercise to just even for a minute to not think of anything, just nothing, that help our mind to recharge, and also it help us to be more creative. When we are bored, it's like unlock creativity too.
I agree with you. I think one of the things we need to maybe untrain ourselves from is that boredom is bad, because boredom is thought of as downtime, but boredom is actually, it's healing in a way. And it's funny, going back to your comments about nature, where your daughter's focusing on one thing and just paying attention to one thing, or looking around, because when you get into that, if you have been told again and again that that feeling of boredom is a bad thing, then whenever it comes, you try to stop it. You try to fill up the time. You try to go do something, because you're always supposed to be doing something. That's the rules. You have to do something. And
Don't waste your time.
exactly, and we never stop. Because like you said, there's a lot of thought going on in there, and if you fill up all of your time with outside distractions, you never get to hear that. And I personally think it builds up, because it never stops. And so if you don't do something to help it, eventually you implode, because those things have to come out and be processed somehow.
That's so true.
So, I agree.
Tahinat, you have a question? Yes, Tahinat.
Yeah, I was just going to add, there's definitely a lot of negative connotation with the word boredom. And the reality is we're always doing something. Even if you think you're quote unquote doing nothing, you might be resting, you're breathing, you're maybe processing what you did from the day. I would always get kind of irritated when like my daughter's like, oh, I'm so bored. And I would say, so I'm trying to like over the years, like, to say that it's not that you're bored. It's just that right now think about what you are doing. Like you are doing something. Maybe you're just resting, maybe you're just relaxing, rather than like having this like negative connotation of like always needing to be active, physically or mentally or emotionally or spiritually. I think that's the key to meditation. You're supposed to be meditating. Meditation is such a good thing. And that's sometimes when you think you're bored, you actually might be meditating in a way, Yeah. It's a good thing. Yeah.
Yeah. I agree with that. And I've even read some articles about like some tech CEOs, and it's like every day in their schedule, they just have an hour of downtime to think. They say like that's when we get our ideas, and I think that's something most of us don't realize, is that when we need that downtime to be productive or to be creative, just to be happy. We don't always have to be producing and productive.
So true. Yes, I agree.
Yeah, even like back to just being in nature. A lot of times my kids, sometimes I'm bored, or in the summer it's hot, I don't want to be here, and I'm just like, okay, just sit for a second and look around. That's fine. See what you see, and I'm just going to sit here and read my book. So
I agree totally. Like it's a gate to meditation. So guys, can you get your paper and pencil? Let's do this. It's called Cup of Self-Compassion. So as we talk today, we need to take care of ourselves in nature walk, or in, through meditation, through different techniques. And remember to take care of yourself, because you cannot pour from an empty cup. So I want you to outline a large cup. And draw your cup and fill it with ways in which you take care of yourself. Different kind of things. So I'm going to draw my cup. You can color it, you can write in it, whatever. Yeah.
هلا ابتهال.
سلام.
عليكم السلام، كيف حالك؟
الحمد لله كويسة، كيفك يا خالي؟
والله ما شاء الله. I am happy.
يا ربي.
Interesting subject.
Thank you so
I,
much. Thank you.
I draw my cup.
You draw your cup? Can we see it? Or you can send me a picture. So this is my cup.
Okay.
So I have a tea because when I drink tea, I relax. And when I watch the tree and the sun, and I have some colors and canvas. So if you
Did
finish,
you see my?
yeah, I can't see your cup. Can you show us your cup?
No, it's okay. Can you see it now?
No, your camera is closed.
Oh, my camera is closed.
Yes.
How about now?
Yes, I can see it. Oh,
Can
I
you see the
love
cup?
it. Happy life. Nice. Very nice. Send me a picture of it.
I
Melissa,
will.
Stephanie, show us your cup if you're finished.
Sure.
Oh, I love it. Oh, you have your kittens. And you're muted. You're muted.
No, I'm not. I have nature and music and kittens and books
Nice.
with words and wind.
I love it. I love it. Stephanie, you're muted. I love your cat.
Yeah, my husband came in the room, so we was talking. I have the sun, but I haven't drawn the photos yet. Tea time, walking, resting, cooking, watercolor.
Nice.
Slicing.
Nice. Send me the picture later for it so we can post it.
And I'm going to add the colors that make me happy, because I think colors make us happy as well.
It is like I imagine life without colors. Oh my God.
Yes.
Like
Seeing is like a blessing, mashallah.
Yes. That's so true. So guys, thank you so much for joining us. This is my daughter.
Ah, mashallah.
You've got your cat too.
My daughter's also drawing hers.
So hi.
Butterflies.
Oh, I love it. So pretty. So guys, everyone send me their cup so we can post it. Thank you so much, Stephanie, for being with us today. Thank you everyone for joining us. And I hope you can join us for the next Sunday Smile. So, and have a great week. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.